Hello students, welcome again. Students, when we study the history of literary criticism, we come to one conclusion that it is all about action and reaction. Okay, one group of critics come with one theory and another group of critics come with another theory which becomes a reaction to the first group. The same thing happened during the 20th century. During the first half of the 20th century, we come across a group of critics, okay, they are known as new critics, okay, which was actually a reaction against the traditional criticism of the 19th century. Okay, but if you examine the criticism of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, we find another group of critics known as Chicago School of Criticism. They reacted against the new critics. But today we want to discuss the origin of new criticism, definition and features of new criticism in English literature. Who are these new critics? See, these new critics are a group of scholars, a group of academicians belonging to England and America. Okay, so it is known as Anglo-American movement of criticism, which we find in the first half of the 20th century. After the First World War, we come across these things. This term, new criticism, was first of all coined by J.C. Ransom, okay, when he published his book New Criticism in 1941. Okay, so the term new criticism comes in 1941, but even before that, new criticism already started existing after the First World War. Now, what is this new criticism? As I told you, it's a group of critics who believed in one theory. Now, what is that one theory? They believed that text must be focused, okay, while doing the analysis, while interpreting the text, okay, they consider text as a closed ended object, right? They are not concerned with what happens outside the text. So their main focus is the text itself. They believed that everything that we need to understand about one work of art is already found within the text. Okay, so we as the critics, we need to find out different elements, the form, the structure and the content of that text only. Okay, so they avoided the biographical, sociological and political connections, okay, of this text. Like if you study the 19th century critics like Taine gave the theory of race, milieu and moment. Okay, Taine believed that every work of art is the product of the time in which it was produced. So if you want to understand a work of art, you need to study the time period, the history during which this particular work of art was published. In the same manner, Hudson and so many others, they also, like Saint-Beuve, they also believed that the work of art is the product of the mind and personality of the author. So they believe that if you want to understand one poem, you need to understand the poet's personality. But these new critics reacted against all these theories, okay, and they said that text is different and the author is different. When we are reading the text, when we want to analyze a text, we need to focus on the text only. There is no author whom we should study. There is no time period, no biography, no social and political connections of the text. Who were the major critics? The major critics are Alan Tate, R.P. Warren, J.C. Ransom, Clint Brooks, William Ampson, T.S. Eliot, F.R. Lewis and several more critics. They popularized this concept, this theory of new criticism. Now, what are the basic features or tenets of this new critical theory? Then there are 5 points you should remember. Number one, surface reading of literature is insufficient. Only surface reading does not give you the exact meaning of the text. Okay, they believe that the critic has to examine different patterns of literary devices which are used within the text by the author. Okay, so say for example, if you want to understand and examine a poem, what literary devices are used by the poet in order to convey the meaning, and how successful this has been done by the poet. So that was the main task of the new critics. Number two, they excluded the author, the reader, and the context. All these three things. Okay, you remember I have already uploaded one video on Rolla Barthes' death of the author. Rolla Barthes was one of the postmodern critics. He believed that the author is dead. Once the poet writes poetry, there is no connection between the poem and the poetry, the poem and the poet. Okay, so while examining the poem, you should not think about the author, you should not think about who the reader is, and you should not think about the context in which sociological or political cultural context in which it is written and published. Okay, so that is number two. Number three, they avoided the author, the social, cultural, political background in which the work is written. Okay, so they reacted against Taine, they reacted against Saint Bew. Okay, they reacted against the biographical study of literature, historical study of literature. Okay, they laid more emphasis on close examination of the words, the diction, the language, how the words are arranged by the poet, how the poet has used meter, rhyming pattern, irony, paradox, images, symbols. Okay, these are the things on which they focused their attention while analyzing a work of art, not outside the text. Now, the text is what? The text, according to them, is a code which the scientist, just like a scientist, the critic has to decode the text by examining various parameters like words, how the words are arranged, that is diction, meter, rhyming pattern, irony, paradox, symbols, images, and so on. Why? Because these people, the modern critics, they were much influenced by the recent development of science and technology, 20th century development, and that's why they had a scientific approach towards literature. They had that objective approach towards literature. Now, you must be wondering that there are so many similarities between new criticism and formalism, because I have already uploaded one video on formalism also. There also you find such ideas. Okay, so no doubt there are so many similarities between new criticism and formalism, but there is one difference. Like, see, there are some differences. New criticism is created in America and Britain, okay, Anglo-American movement, but formalism is basically a Russian movement. Some Russian critics, they developed that theory in Russia. Okay, so that is one difference. New criticism is created in the first half of the 20th century, that means after the First World War. Okay, but formalism was created before the First World War. Okay, in 1910s. And number three, the third difference is that new criticism analyzed the form and content as well, content of the text, but formalism, they examined the form of the text and the structure of the text. They were not concerned much with the discussion of the content. Okay, so that these are the three primary differences between new criticism and formalism. I hope this video is helpful to you. Please do let me know whether you liked it or not, and do share it among your friends and classmates so that other students can also be benefited. Thank you for watching. Thank you.